Welcome to the Staff Wellbeing Programme by Kathy Shooter. That's me. Do you relate to any of these statements? I started working in school because I wanted to make a difference. Lately, I started to feel exhausted and disillusioned with my job. I still care and I don't want to let people down, but I don't know how much longer I can keep going. This programme offers 6 modules and accompanying YouTube videos. Reach out for professional help if you are struggling with your mental health. The course has short activities you can work through at your own pace. Let's define stress. Stress is the body's natural reaction to perceived threats. Challenging events can trigger a fight or flight response, which leads to the body releasing adrenaline and cortisol. When stress levels get too high, we risk burning out. Burnout is a state of chronic physical, mental, and emotional exhaustion caused by prolonged stress, and it's often work-related. Excessive workload, long hours, staff shortages, and poor work-life balance can all add to stress. Along with other stresses such as bereavement, parenting, caring for relatives, personal injury or illness, work pressures can all take their toll. How can we cope? It's really important to make time for yourself. Try and make self-care a daily act. And that's really what this course is all about. There are 5 ways to well-being that are supported by organisations such as the NHS because they are simple and yet very effective. They involve us connecting with other people, our environment, our community, being active in ways that we're walking. It might be we like swimming. It might be we do chair yoga. There's lots of ways to be active. Taking notice of the present moment, using our senses, that kind of thing. Being willing to keep learning and also be willing to give. All of these things are found to be really good for our well-being. Our staff wellbeing programme involves rating scales. What we're going to do is we're going to rate each area of our lives out of 10. I created something I call the Whispers Wheel, and that is 8 spokes on our wheel representing 8 areas of our lives. So without thinking too much about it, I would like you to rate each of these areas out of 10, 10 being really high and good, 1 being really low. So how do you feel about your work life? How do you feel about your home life? How well do you make time for your interests? What about spirituality and religion? What about your physical well-being and your physical environment? And your emotional well-being? And the relationships that you have in your life? And how you feel about your security and your finances? When you've done this, you will have 8 scores out of 10, okay? It's really helpful to have a journal or a diary for you to log your achievements and reflect on your progress. And when you've worked out how you feel about each of those areas, you can pick an area that scores quite high to work on a goal and a low scoring area. The reason we pick a high scoring area as well as a low scoring area is it can motivate us because it can be easier to be going quite well. And when we see the progress, it gives us the incentive to work on those more tricky areas. Our staff wellbeing programme basically works on a problem-solving cycle. If you choose an area you'd like to work on, you start off by defining what your problem or your goal is. Then you can list all sorts of different possible solutions to that issue. You can even ask people that you know and trust for their opinion on how things could improve. Then you choose some strategies to work on. And what you do is you try them out. If they don't work very well, you can go back to your original list and see if you can try something different. You might find this process frees up your mind and you've got some other solutions that you can try. And basically, you keep reviewing your progress. So you set your goal, you work out some steps to success. After a while, you review how well that's going, and then you can change your goal or you can adjust it if you need to. It's really helpful to look at all the different strategies, a bit like selecting tools from a toolbox, our well-being toolbox, if you like. And some things that work really well for you at one point in your life might not work so well at a later stage. So it's really good to learn lots of different strategies, be willing to try them out. And the ones that work, we can use. The ones that don't work so well, we can put back in the box. Maybe they'll be useful later. It's also really helpful to work on the concept of a well-being ladder. At the bottom of a ladder, you've got a long climb to the top. And quite a lot of the time, we feel really miserable and we want to get right up to the top of that ladder in one jump, which isn't really that realistic. So this whole program is really about knowing where we're at on the ladder. We might be feeling 2 out of 10, which would be 2 rungs up our ladder. We might be feeling 8 out of 10 on our ladder. And actually, all we're really doing is when we know where we're at, we work out what's the next few steps to take us up one rung of the ladder. That can really help us rather than being too ambitious. That it could go into our well-being toolbox as a strategy in itself. Other strategies that people can find really helpful, and we go into more detail in the program, are things like breathing. Some people call it box breathing, where you breathe in for a count of 4, hold your breath for a count of 4, breathe out for a count of 4, and stay breathing out for 4 before you breathe back in again. Some people like to breathe in through their nose, out through their mouth. Other people like to breathe in through their nose and out through their nose. So you can experiment and see what works for you. But focusing on our breath in that way can really help to reduce our stress levels. Progressive muscle relaxation is also a really useful strategy. What you do there, sit down and focus on each muscle at a time, tensing it and then relaxing it. You could choose to start from the top, work your way down. You could choose, doesn't matter, you can start with your shoulders, then your arms, work down. And another strategy linked to progressive muscle relaxation, if you're feeling stressed, sit down, press your feet against the floor quite hard and then relax. That can be a really grounding experience and really help you to calm down. Exercise, we've already mentioned, can be a really good way of boosting your well-being. And creativity is something I personally really find helps my well-being. There are lots of other strategies that can help, such as focusing on sleep, looking after our diet. All of these things are mentioned in our well-being program. Basically, what you do when you've worked on some goals for a while, you review your progress, you can look through your journal and then adjust your goals. You might find that you've achieved some goals more quickly than you thought. Then you can go back to your whispers wheel and choose a different area. This kind of process can go, you could try this on a termly basis. I like to work on a quarterly basis. I tend to go around the times of the solstice and the equinox. So just before Christmas, I might kind of have a look at my wheels and score how things are going in my life. I might come up with some strategies for the next 3 months. And then when I reach that 3-month period, reflect back in my journal on how things have gone and then adjust my goals or set new ones. And I do that, like I said, about 4 times a year. But with a wellbeing program for staff, particularly school staff, it might be more helpful to do it at the end of each term so that you're all set up for the next term. I've also included ways you can kind of keep in touch with me. One is Trusty Life Coaching on Facebook. So if you're on Facebook and you Google Trusty Life Coaching, you will find my coaching page. You can easily join up on that, and it's got lots of information. It will have information about the Wellbeing Programme, but it's also got other information about other projects that I'm working on. And it tells you how you can work with me individually if that's something that you find helpful. I've also got here Kathy's Wellbeing Virtual Cafe, which again is on Facebook. You're more than welcome to join. There's about 350 members at the moment, and most of them are pretty active. And we do lots of light-hearted, friendly little posts that keep us all feeling happy and motivated. You're also very welcome to visit my Amazon author page. I've written quite a lot of books. They're nearly all to do with well-being and feeling happier. So you're more than welcome. I try to keep the prices down. The ebooks are the most cheap because they're the cheaper to produce. So feel free to buy any of the books, and I really hope that they help you. This program originated in an ebook, so you can find that on Amazon, and on there you can work through all the different activities. Basically what the model is, it works on a 6-term program, and every week it suggests something that you can focus on using the 5 ways to well-being, using your journal, using the different activities that I've suggested here, and many more. I really hope that they help, and if they have, please let other people know about this program. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.